Okay, today we're looking at the end of World War I, and on your index card, if you would right now, write down that the Treaty of Versailles made Germany gag, G-A-G. And then at the bottom, you'll see it says, do you know? And you're going to have two questions. One, empires that were ended by Versailles, and number two, League of Nations. Go ahead and pause the video and get that down right now. Okay, so you should have had time to write this down. Just a little review of the end of World War I. There was no massive victory. There wasn't a bombing of Hiroshima or Nagasaki at the end of World War I. Basically, after the Argonne Forest battle, America continues to push Germany back to the Rhine River, which is the border with Germany. And then at that point, the Germans are like, okay, we're done. They meet. The Allies and Central Powers meet, and they decide to end the war at 11 a.m. on November 11th in 1918. So 11/11 at 11 a.m. And the war ends. That's it. Germany did not feel like they had been defeated like terribly. It wasn't like they just got smoked. It was kind of like both sides just agreed to end the war. Obviously, America and the Brits and the French were pushing the Germans back, but it wasn't like this crushing defeat either. So they end up a couple months later. They meet at Versailles in Paris, and it was decided what to do with Germany as a punishment for the war. The French want to exact revenge. They want full-scale revenge for World War I, and really the French are leading the show. President Wilson is there. However, he does not play as big a role as the French, who are hosting, nor the British as well. Both sides, really, the Brits and the French, they want to make Germany pay big time. That's going to result in the Treaty of Versailles, and that is going to result and help result in World War II. All right, one thing that the treaty was so bad, the Treaty of Versailles was so bad that French General Ferdinand Foch, after reading the Versailles terms, he said, "What? This is not peace. It's a truce for 20 years." And in fact, the treaty was signed in 1919. 20 years later, in 1939, Hitler will invade Poland and start World War II. So this guy, this French general, Ferdinand Foch, I mean, he was very prophetic in the fact that this Versailles Treaty was not going to keep peace. This was going to create a second war, and that's exactly what it did. So Versailles is the place for the meeting, and you see down in the lower right-hand corner, there's people crowded in. That was at the signing ceremony. In fact, the first delegation of Germans to come to the meeting to sign the treaty refused. They thought it was so unfair, it was so bad, they refused to sign it. And they had to go get another group to come back another day and sign the treaty. Okay, first G. Go ahead and grab your card. Two things that happened here. We got two punishments in the first G. One, Germany is going to lose territory, and they're going to be forced to pay reparations. Germany is going to lose territory, and they're going to be forced to pay reparations. You can see on the map, especially if you look at the one on the left, there's like a whitish area that has a white and red map, white and red flag there. That land is given to a brand new country called Poland. So Poland is going to take a slice of Germany, and you're going to end up having about 6 million Germans in Poland. This ends up being incredibly unwise. You also look, there's a part of Germany that ends up in Denmark in the upper top. And then over on the left-hand side, there's a little white area toward France that's given Alsace-Lorraine. That's given back to France. And so we have all this land that's being taken from the Germans, and this is going to be a huge thing for Hitler. And later on, he's going to basically say, well, why should the Germans live in France or live in Poland? They should live in Germany. And it's going to be a really big thing. Of course, reparations, we talked about that when we talked about the causes of the Great Depression. The Germans are made to pay over $30 billion in reparations. Now, today, I know our federal government in 2017 spends $30 billion in 10 minutes. Maybe in an hour, actually, but either way. Back then, this was huge, huge money, and it was almost impossible to pay back. Matter of fact, if you look at what the reparation payments did to Germany, there are 3 photographs here, all of them showing people with money. The right-hand picture shows a woman just burning it. because the German money is going to be inflated so badly that it's worthless. The top picture shows kids like playing with the money as if it was like building blocks because it was totally worthless. And then down below you see a boy and a little girl with a big stack of German bills, and they're pointing at how tall it is. So, you know, the money is just worthless. On the right-hand side, you see a chart where it shows how many marks you need in order to buy an ounce of gold. And you see that we went from 170 marks to buy an ounce of gold in 1919 to 87 trillion marks to buy an ounce of gold by 1923. So the German economy is, frankly, just ruined as a result. Okay, next, A. Germany also has to accept all the guilt for the war. In order to make someone pay damages, they must be guilty. So in the Treaty of Versailles, the Allies put in this clause that Germany has to accept that the war was their fault. This was patently unfair. In fact, the German people might have been the most outraged about this. But the Allies did it because, hey, well, if it's your fault, you got to pay for it. So this is something that is going to really, really make the German people angry. The loss of land, the reparations, the guilt clause, all of these things are going to lead to Hitler being elected to office. And then, you know, France is going to pay the ultimate cost then. You'll see here in this picture, Germany is represented by a horse, and loaded into the cart is so much reparations, they call it indemnity or debt, that the horse can't even touch the ground. So Germany's lost land, it's had to pay reparations, it's had to accept all guilt. In this picture here shows also about the guilt clause. Because it's their fault, they're also going to try to break Germany up. On the yellow part on the right is where they lost land to Poland. The left-hand side, you see Alsace-Lorraine. And then the pink side is a demilitarized zone. It's called the Rhineland. And Germany effectively loses control of that to the French. They still technically own it, but it's a demilitarized zone, and the French kind of make sure the Germans don't mess around. Also, if you see at the bottom, it says that by the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was forbidden to unite with Austria. Austria-Hungary is going to be destroyed as well, and they're going to make Czechoslovakia and parts of Poland and Yugoslavia and other countries from it. And Austria now is only German, and it is not allowed to join with Germany, at least according to Versailles. And lastly, Germany's military was limited. In order to supposedly make sure Germany never goes to war again, the German military is limited to only 100,000 troops, which, by the way, is smaller than Belgium. You'll see there that the Belgium on this chart, Belgium had over 530,000 reserves in their army. The Germans are not allowed to have a reserve, and so Germany is rather pathetic. On the right-hand side, you see a cartoon, and you see Wilson, the French, and the British Prime Minister getting ready to bring the Germans to the guillotine, because that was essentially what the Treaty of Versailles did. So just review, Germany loses land. They had to pay reparations. They had to accept all the guilt. It was all their fault, supposedly. And then the military was limited. Down at the bottom, it says empires ended by Versailles. 4 empires are ended by Versailles, if you could jot these down. 1, Germany. Empires ended. They lose all of their colonies in Africa and Asia. Those are split up among France and Britain. And they lose land in Europe. So German Empire is gone. B, Russian Empire. I mean, literally, it is gone. I mean, it is now the Soviet Union. C, the Ottoman Empire is gone. They destroy it. They break it into a bunch of different countries. Ottoman Empire is finished. And then Austro-Hungarian Empire is gone too. Austria is its own country. Hungary its own country. Yugoslavia, Romania. Part of it went to Czechoslovakia. Part of it went to Poland. All of these locations are destroyed by the Treaty of Versailles. And you can see down here in the lower right-hand corner, 12 and 13, those are going to be lands that used to be in the Ottoman Empire, but are now given to French and the Brits as colonies. Number 11 on the map is now Turkey. Number 9 on the map is Yugoslavia. 4 is Hungary. 3 is Austria. 8 is Czechoslovakia. And 5 is Poland. So you see, the map of Europe changes significantly. We'll spend more time on this another day. And lastly, the League of Nations was created at the Versailles Conference. Wilson had a plan when he went to Paris, and he called it his 14 points for peace. And he showed up, and he was pretty cocky that whatever, if they did his 14 points, that he would have peace forever. A senator in America laughed about Wilson and said, made fun of him, and this is what he said. Well, Wilson has his 14 points, but God Almighty himself only has 10. Ha ha ha, obviously referencing the 10 Commandments. So making Wilson think that he's, saying that Wilson thinks he's better because he has 14 things and God only had 10. So people made fun of Wilson a little bit for this. The main thing was the League of Nations. That was the 14th point. The idea was to create a League of Nations that would create peace. You can see there's a cartoon in the lower there with a guy in a like looks like a Noah's Ark, and he's looking up at the League of Nations, and he sees a rainbow. And so this was going to again making fun of Wilson, who thought that if there was a League of Nations where countries could talk, there would be no more war. And so the idea is, oh, rainbows, if I just get the League of Nations, yay. All right, so let's write these things down. One, League of Nations was Wilson's idea. So that's the first thing. This was Wilson's idea, League of Nations. Two, it is what we call an international cooperative organization. International means around the world. Cooperative means to cooperate. So if we get a bunch of people together, a bunch of countries together, we can work out problems before there's war. It's not a bad idea, but in practice it really was ineffective. It is formed to prevent war. It was formed to prevent war. Obviously, since there's a World War II, this didn't work well. The biggest problem with the League of Nations is that it had no authority to enforce decisions. So it could make a decision, but it had no army. They debated that, but no one had an army. They were afraid it would cause a World War II. So when later on Germany, Japan, Italy are going to misbehave, the League of Nations will put out a memo about stopping that, and they'll just laugh at them. The League of Nations will get laughed at because they have no ability to stop it, no ability to do anything. And lastly, the most ironic part is that the United States doesn't join. The Treaty of Versailles was never approved by the United States Senate. And the reason it wasn't approved was because of this last part, the League of Nations. America was afraid that it would get pulled into another world war, so they decide not to join the League of Nations, despite Wilson's disapproval and anger over this. In the end, the League of Nations is not approved by the U.S. Senate. All right, so there's the Treaty of Versailles. Go ahead on read over that, and then go ahead and take the practice quiz. You're welcome to take that more than once. Thank you.